Alright, hello, and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and 21% of US investors used loans to buy Bitcoin or crypto. So this speaks volumes, doesn't it, to the amount of leverage that was in the crypto market. I know people personally that had taken on loans, and I'd seen people online selling their houses to buy crypto. And whilst the opportunity presented in front of us certainly is a once in a lifetime, or perhaps at the most twice in a lifetime, I do not recommend anyone go selling their house. I have joked about it before, but I think you have to remember that there's no certainties in life. Bitcoin seems certain out of all the other cryptos, but leverage causes severe problems, and I think that's what we've been seeing of late. Celsius has repaid $120 million of stablecoin debt to the Maker protocol. And Celsius has also got a $120 million Bitcoin loan that's been paid off, so their new liquidation price is all the way down at $4,966. So does that mean that they're no longer getting liquidated? I would think so. You know, could we do this on a scam wick? Perhaps, but the order book would need to be really, really thin to get down there, and I think likely you'd need a lot of whales to be coerced into not buying sub 14k. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see this price ever being achieved, but never say never, right? Anything can happen. Got this from Plan B. 60% of Bitcoin is in profit at the moment, with an average price of 7.5k. 40% of Bitcoin on chain is sitting in a loss currently, with an average buy price of 43.5k. So the blue being Bitcoin's price, the red being the average price of 43.5k, people that are sat on a loss. And the average price for people sat in the green at the moment, down here at 7.5k. So historically, this is the right sort of gap that has come with bottoms or major lows. As you can see here, we got a nice spread. Bitcoin price right in the middle. So if you're one of the 60% in profit, give yourself a little pat on the back. And if not, you better buy some dips, get your average down. Bitcoin miners have turned to net accumulating again. Now, I first flagged this a few weeks back, and I said, look, they've just started to flip. And you can see they've maintained some level of buying pressure. So for me, miners have always been the most dominant force in the network. Some people could argue exchanges, especially after the last halving. After the next halving, I think exchanges will end up being significantly more impactful because of the number of Bitcoin per day that they generate and sell into the open market versus the number that the miners will produce. After this next halving in 2024, the miners will only be generating around half the Bitcoin a day that exchanges will in peak conditions. So then it stands to reason that the exchanges will have twice as much impact on the market. So we'll have to deal with that when it comes. But for now, the miners are net accumulating, and that is something I would like to see. I'm always happy to see that. The number of addresses holding at least one Bitcoin has reached a new all-time high of just under 880,000. So this is adoption. Bitcoin continues to be adopted, and people are continuing to accumulate a whole Bitcoin. There simply isn't enough to go around. So if you're one of these people, again, pat yourself on the back. In other news, we've got home sellers slashing prices all across America. So these pink circles, there's one here, there's one here, one here, one here, one here. These are 10% or less reductions in house prices. And then as you can see, the darker we get, 20, 30 or more than 30% reduction in house prices in some areas. So there's a good amount of house price reduction going on at the moment. I don't think we've quite seen this yet in the UK, but usually where the US goes, the UK follows. So I would possibly expect to see this in the not too distant future over here. At the same time in America, although this is a year-over-year growth, so it's not quite the same as absolute, but rent prices are experiencing significant 2.9% decline over the last month. So hopefully the housing situation is about to become a bit more affordable. And this should, as I said earlier, trickle down into the UK as well. But this is what we have to deal with over here in the UK. You can see that this is starting back in 2002, and by about 2005 there was quite a large gap, and then leading into the recession, the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, they almost met, before taking off again and going absolutely parabolic. And so young people over the last, say, 10 years have been truly locked out of owning property. It's increasingly common to find people in the UK that are in their 30s and still have no shot at owning a house. So, and you can kind of see why when you look at this chart. The spread between wages and house prices is enormous. Houses have gone up so much quicker than wages have, that your average person on a decent wage in this country still can't afford to buy a house. So it's a nasty situation to be in. A lot of people will be praying for the housing market to roll over so they can get on the ladder, but will it, won't it? We'll see. Power companies are hiring Bitcoin mining experts, and this is bullish. Sources below if you want to see those. The White House has announced that a Bitcoin mining report will be released in August, so I'll make sure to make a note of this and come back and cover it as and when this is released. ARK Invest's Yassine has come out and said that the price levels that we're currently at for Bitcoin have historically marked generational bottoms. And I agree. I still think we may not have made the cycle low just yet. If you've been watching the channel, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I think we're getting very close, and perhaps are just within 1 week of finding that cycle low. Biden has announced that he's close to a rollback of the China tariffs in order to combat inflation. So these tariffs are obviously put in place by Trump for the most part, and is Biden about to undo these? It seems that way. So I'll keep an eye on that. Will they end up attributing the rollover in CPI? Will they end up claiming that inflation has peaked because of a combination of this and the interest rate hikes? Will this end up being a catalyst for them to pause rate hikes and start being more accommodative to markets? In Europe and in Germany, things are not looking good right now. This is the Germany trade balance monthly, okay? And why is this important? Well, it's gone negative. This is the most important cog in the entire ECB. The European Central Bank's most important member has their quality of credit destroyed. So if you're in and around these areas, you better opt out. You better get some Bitcoin, because things are going to get pretty ugly pretty fast, I would imagine, coming off the back of this. The dollar, though, the dollar doesn't care. The dollar is bid. We'll get to some charts in a minute, but and this is likely because the futures have ticked negative. There's still a rush for people to convert their assets into cash in an attempt to stay safe. And nothing is immune from this at the moment. The commodity index futures also selling off, but this is likely hinting at us that we may have seen peak inflation for now. We may be about to see this CPI roll over, and if you've been watching the channel, you'll know I've been sort of proceeding with caution of late, but I still think we're going to get this Fed pivot. I've been saying September over and over and over again. If you were watching the more recent videos, then you'll see that Raoul Paul thinks we may have already seen the last rate hike in June, and there won't even be another one in July. So that remains to be seen. But for now, there's subtle tells in the market that we should be a little bit more open to potentially having seen peak inflation. This is coming at a time when we have just seen a record for the largest outflow of Bitcoin from exchanges. So usually when this happens, people scoop up a lot of cheap Bitcoin and then they withdraw it and put it into cold storage, and that takes it out of the short-term supply and possibly even the long-term supply. So this tends to be bullish, although it isn't always. The crypto fear and greed index is at the lowest level ever. So whilst smart money, whilst big players are withdrawing record amounts of Bitcoin from exchanges, everyone else is terrified. It could also be to do with the fact that so many things have been blowing up lately that perhaps people are finally realizing that they should take ownership of their own cryptocurrency and not extend trust to exchanges that clearly, in a lot of cases, have no problem with taking on a lot of unnecessary leverage and risk with your cryptocurrency at the expense of you, should they end up blowing up or losing it or getting hacked. So remember, I'm going to try and say this at least once an episode, I think. Not your keys, not your crypto. Get your crypto off exchanges. There's no point taking part in this revolution if you're not going to own your own crypto. Okay? Own your own crypto by holding your own keys on a cold wallet. If you want to get a ledger, there's a link in the description. And let's move on to some charts. Dixie breaking out, look at this. But we are approaching this cycle low. So are we going to break down soon? Who knows? We appear to be emerging from this base. Is this going to keep running? We'll just have to keep monitoring it. At the moment though, keep in mind that we've got equities off. We've got even the metals selling off. Okay, still no breakouts, so still no entry. This will be true of silver. Look, still no breakouts, so still no entry here. This is why we don't jump in. When we were down here, that looked quite a tempting entry. Oh, we run the stops. Do we buy the cycle low? No, we don't. And this is exactly why. Looking at oil, oil has got rejected off this trend line again, so there's no breakout, there's no long here. And remember, we want it down here to give the Fed some credibility in being more accommodative to markets and more confident that it's seen peak inflation. We're holding a short from here, from a few days ago. We'll continue to hold this short whilst we look to try and find a cycle low somewhere below this low. It could obviously form next to this low, equal to this low, or above it. But my theory is that we're going to sweep these lows and then we can flip long, and risk can come back on. But the cycle counts are telling us across the board, look, we're just entering it now, aren't we? Just entering the timing band, but could potentially still be trending down for crypto for the next couple of weeks. So we just need to be open to being a little bit more patient, see where we can find this actual low within this timing band, and then we should stand a pretty good chance at bouncing. Same is true for Ethereum. You know, can we get back down here? Anything down here I think would be an absolute gift. Same for Bitcoin. Anything in this neighborhood, in this timing window, below this green line, below this green box, anything in there will be, in my opinion, a decent long. The metals are tradable upon their trend line breaks, as you can see, and as you can see. So again, not trying to rush in because there's no telling where these will stop. You know, this could absolutely bleed all the way down here. Who knows, right? Who knows? So we need to wait for confirmation. But the good news is we've had one fail, so most likely we can get a very good entry second time around and have more confidence in that entry being successful. And then equities, as I've covered, hold this short, see where we can find this cycle low over the next couple of, well, over this week really. And then that becomes a very good candidate to flip long at and go. So if you want to see all that, if you want to see how I deal with these markets in real time, make sure you're subscribed, turn the notifications on. What's the time? 12 o'clock. I'm going to get this uploaded and I'm going to the beach for the day. So I'm going to enjoy that. I hope you enjoy whatever it is you're going to do today. Stay blessed, stay focused, stay humble, and take care of yourself. Until next time, all the best. Cheers. Bye.